You are about to witness history as XRP is defying all odds and pumping way harder than any analyst actually expected this early into the end of the year. Typically, crypto markets pump or rally hard from the months of October on into the end of the year. But already we've seen Bitcoin pump to a new all-time high, and just on the day, XRP popped all the way up to $2.97. So as this article states, we can expect the unexpected when it comes to XRP, because unlike any other major altcoin, this one rallies way stronger and pumps way harder for longer than anything I've personally ever seen. Some people are calling for $12 and even $100 in this rally. Personally, I think we're going to hit $5 relatively quickly and far sooner than I expect. And in this video, I'm going to show you what that looks like and what to look for on the charts. And by the way, it's not just me. Peter Brandt, who is a veteran trader and arguably one of the best living technical analysts, recently posted this chart at 3:30 in the morning talking about how the market pausing in this yellow box, and obviously we're looking at the price chart of XRP, is usually an indicator of the fact that this thing is going to go up, up, up. How hard will this thing rally when we break into new all-time highs? Well, I think we're likely going to hit $5 and by end of year potentially outperform all expectations of what we thought was possible when demand is extremely high and small amounts of liquidity can pump the price even higher, pushing the market cap to levels that people thought were totally unreasonable. Now, here's the thing. If you feel like you've already missed out on this first leg up, no worries, I've got you in this video. But if you've been watching this channel for any period of time, or even my last 2-3 videos where I've covered XRP, I have been calling for this move for quite some time. If we break above $2.33, that I would expect to be very bullish. And here is that short replay of me talking about it right here on this channel. Of resistance at the $2.33 range. So with this little squat and potential breakout, if we get back above 233, this is going to look extremely bullish for XRP, because I think it's going to fly right through that 260 range and all the way back up to its prior all-time high. A break above 340 is likely going to take us to at least $5, because that would be a psychological resistance. And as you can see, I have that exact same chart here, where not only did we squat for a little while, but we went right back up to 233. And around this time, for our private community members on the live technical analysis calls that I host every single Tuesday, which is in the replay library. For those of you guys who want to join, you can watch every single one of the past calls and every single one of the live calls over at altcoinpro.com. On the call, I was calling this little squat, and if we rally back up to 233, I am entering in this range right here. And that's exactly what we did as a community right before XRP popped off to nearly $3. And again, I expect us to at least rally as we squat in this range here between 270 down to potentially 265 to add to that dip all the way back up to the prior all-time high of $3.40. However, many people have been wondering what is causing such tremendous strength in the crypto market. Now, it's really difficult to say. I believe that we are still in a macro bull market, even though we've had quite a bit of volatility and scares surrounding tariffs. There is far more M2 or money supply entering the markets, and the fact that eventually the Fed is going to have to lower interest rates because inflation is down below 2% according to Trueflation, which we will cover in this video. But now we're opening the conversation to potentially oust Jerome Powell, who's been keeping interest rates unreasonably high, and Donald Trump has been calling him out on it. So much so that there has actually been a statement from a chairman of the board over at Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac talking about how Jerome Powell has been considering resigning, which would follow the exact same trend and trajectory of our prior SEC chairman, Gary Gensler, who was not only incompetent, but terribly irresponsible with the power that he held in the position that he held, and ultimately stifled innovation growth and the economy. And that's exactly what Trump has been accusing Jerome Powell of doing doing right now. So with this news and with the fact that we're likely going to see lower interest rates at some point here within the year, alongside the fact that everything is breaking out to new all-time highs with the S&P 500, with Bitcoin, and now XRP here in the near future, things are looking really freaking good. So with all of that said, we're going to be covering everything in this video and that $5 target and beyond. But before we do, head on over to Bull Runners HQ on Twitter or X. Be sure to check out the pinned post for your chance to enter and win our $100 worth of XRP weekly giveaway. Every single week we give away $100 worth of XRP, and this week's winner could be you, which comes very soon in a few days. All you need to do is follow this account, like, retweet, and comment XRP on the pinned post, and then subscribe to our daily crypto newsletter. You do need to follow through with all three of those steps. We double verify and we pick a winner at random. But when you go to bullrunners.com or click that link, either way, you're going to get the free ebook that unlocks the 23 secrets to becoming a crypto millionaire, and that will be sent directly to your inbox. So again, just go ahead and check it out, because this can absolutely change your financial situation and life. All of the stuff that we cover in this ebook and guide is stuff that took us almost a decade to learn in the crypto markets, and it can take you simply a few hours of reading. And without further ado, as always, if you're feeling blessed and bullish, comment 777. And if you're going to be the wealthiest person in your family tree, smash the subscribe button. Hello and welcome back to the channel, my friend. If you're new here, my name is Paul, and you can find me on Twitter or X at PauliDeFi, PauliDeFi. I really want to quickly discuss this post from Peter Brandt and kind of build some context into the rest of this video, because I do thoroughly believe we're likely going to hit $5 and probably faster than we expect, considering when XRP did rally. And I'll go ahead and dive into the chart super quickly above the 64-cent range for what was an intermediate term downtrend from that July 23rd or 2023 local top, when XRP was deemed not a security in the courts. XRP was just consistently putting in lower highs and was putting in a flat of lows. In other words, we were getting this wedge or descending triangle. Then when we rallied above the 64-cent range for a confluence of breakouts, not only above the descending wedge, but also above the horizontal support and resistance, XRP flew, and it really didn't cool off for quite some time. Again, we were actually putting in some squats right through these price ranges of about $1.12 up to about $1.47 down to $1.40. And then flew all the way up to a high of $2.90 and put in an all-time high on XRP of 340. Now, again, for those of you guys who are newer, or maybe you're on Coinbase, the way that they aggregated data on Coinbase, which is totally ridiculous for XRP, shows that the high was like $3.89. But again, that actually was not the honest price on the US dollar on US exchanges. This was the Korean price based on their dollars and very low liquidity in that region. So for whatever reason, that's the data that they're using, but it is not actually factual. If you check every single exchange that is US based, even on Binance that isn't US based, the prior all-time high actually came in around $3.30 to $3.31, which isn't showing up on the Binance chart right now, but you can go ahead and check that for yourself on TradingView. That said, you don't need to trust me, right? Take everything with a grain of salt. But as you can see here, XRP flew, and I thoroughly expect something like this to occur again, considering we've been in a very long range where, again, look at this flat right here. We had about $2 as a support. We also saw a descending triangle or wedge right through this range with a bull trap, right? I'm trying to touch as many points as possible on the chart. And again, it won't be 100% perfect, but right here we had this little squat where 233 seemed to be that confluence. At 233, if we could break above this resistance, this would be the next target. Now, where we're truly confirmed is on Binance. Just on the day, we've seen $1.6 billion of buy volume hitting that third standard of deviation, which is about a 4% odds. In other words, this is such tremendous volume on a breakout, which is confirming that this is the strong move that we've been waiting for and is likely not going to cool off. We might see a bit of resistance here or maybe a bit of a squat over the next couple of days, but I thoroughly expect us to break right above that $3 range, pop right into that $3.40 range, and potentially run right up to $5. And at $5, if you were to use a fib tool right here from from the prior high down to the low of the range right here at about $1.60, you can see that the $5 range aligns nearly perfectly between the 1618 and the 2 range for a $5.20 XRP. I believe those would be my targets, and I believe XRP is likely going to go there, which leads me to my point. The fact that Peter Brandt is sharing this is also a pretty strong confirmation after his many decades of being a very seriously profitable trader and investor that this thing is ready to fly. Notice how he doesn't even share price targets, and so more often than not, I'm worried to share price targets because I believe that in this bull run, it's possible that XRP could hit at least $11, maybe even $15. That $100 price target is, in my opinion, pretty outside of what's possible or potential at any point in time over the next 5 years, but maybe in the next decade or two, I'm not too sure. They'd still have to burn a lot of supply, and there'd have to be amounts of money into the tune of like trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars in XRP. I could see XRP being a multi-trillion-dollar asset similar to an Amazon or something like that, but at the end of the day, they're really going to have to grow and probably burn some of those tokens. But $11 to $15 could be very realistic by the end of the year now, considering if we hit this summer, we hit $5, it's going to be huge. But he doesn't share a price target because he's seen these types of patterns before and is weary to tell people where it's likely going to go. All he's saying is that, you know what, hint, 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 wink, wink, this thing is going up, 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 which leaves a lot of room open for interpretation. And ultimately, it actually kind of saves him from people getting mad when something doesn't occur. Because at the end of the day, we don't know how high things can go, right? At the end of the day, any crypto can dump 100%, and that's all it will ever go down, basically to zero. On the flip side, though, cryptos can rally and run far longer and far stronger than anything we've ever expected, which is why sometimes you just want to let your winners ride and cut your losers quick or short. And in the case of XRP, I've noticed that the longer you let it ride, the more money you make. This thing can run for another couple 100% easy. Now, really quickly, before we dive into the rest of this video, if you haven't had a chance to yet, head on over to altcoinpro.com. You can find the link in the description below to join one of our hundreds upon hundreds of members. We're almost sitting at 1,000 members, and we've consistently maintained all of these members at about $97 a month, which sounds crazy at first, but I'm going to explain to you how you can take advantage of this membership in order to get that cost completely covered and paid for. But inside of Altcoin Pro, you have access to everything you would need in order to succeed in crypto. All the right tools, training, and resources in terms of strategies and guides, whether it's your taxes or yield farming or using DeFi apps or taking advantage of airdrops, whether it's managing losses, how to trade pairs, how to trade real estate markets on RWA platforms, and everything else that you're seeing right here. And we're consistently adding to this library of guides, tools, and resources for you guys. We have a team of dedicated pros and researchers that are constantly sharing altcoin picks, and even one of our very own DeFi Mo shares and updates DeFi yields every single week that are designed to actually help you cover the cost of your membership. In other words, you can put your crypto to work for you, crypto that you're already sitting on, in order to earn major interest and yield in a very safe manner. And we show you the guides and actually have video guides for many of these yield farms. So for example, all you do is come over to DeFi Yield Picks, and you can see that 8 hours ago, he named a new DeFi yield pick. But for example, last week on July, he shared one that was US dollars and Solana that was earning you up to 31% APY. In other words, a measly $5,000 in a yield farm. You're not going and losing all that money. It's relatively safe because it's against the US dollar, and we teach you exactly how to enter that. At the end of the day, would have netted you enough to cover your membership yearly. So imagine being able to cover the cost of this membership, and then you get access to everything we offer on the other side. When you go to altcoinpro.com, you'll see a page that looks like this, and you can watch this quick 14 minute video to see that everything that you get on the other side alongside here on what's included. And not only that, like I said in the beginning of this video, if you were involved or on these live calls or even watch the replay going back to every single Tuesday where I host a live call on technical analysis of the charts with our community members, I was actually telling them to enter at the $2.33 range, and a lot of people are already up. So for example, One of our members, Gage, recently reached out to me. He said, I've been so much of a help, and he wanted to thank me for our technical analysis training. And between me and Nick on the channel, he's profited about $20,000 since last October using our advice and help inside of this platform. And so if any of that sounds interesting to you, you want to take advantage of this bull run in a major way, head on over to altcoinpro.com. Again, you can find the link in the description below. Now let's get back into the rest of the video. Now, many people have been asking and wondering, what is the cause of this breakout? Typically, people like to find news to support why the price is where it's at. But if you haven't noticed, over the last year, we've had a lot of really positive news happen while XRP was in a local downtrend or an intermediate term downtrend from that high of 340, where then it dumped all the way down to a low of 160, which actually resulted in being the local bottom of this entire trading range. That said, generally speaking, the news has been very positive, right? Ripple has essentially won their lawsuit. They recently bought a prime broker for $1.25 billion. They're applying for a standard chartered bank license. Both the Treasury and the SEC are now pro-crypto, and now even Congress is writing stablecoin legislation. Everything has been positive from the news front. However, the price was struggling to break out, but it was putting in that time frame some new lower lows, and then eventually started putting in higher lows, which became a new local higher high and resulted in that breakout up to 297 today. And aside from the fact that Bitcoin has been ripped off exchanges en masse, which led me to believe that we were eventually going to get some breakouts for some new all-time highs, which just happened, we've also seen inflation consistently low, going all the way back to about May of this year, where it dumped below 2% for the very first time and has maintained a below 2% average, which leads markets to believe that the interest rates from the Fed should eventually be lowered here in the near future, which again will stimulate the economy and demand. However, it has been quite interesting, this dilemma between Donald Trump saying that Jerome Powell, chairman of the Fed, needs to lower interest rates, and then Jerome Powell sticking to his guns saying, I'm not going to lower interest rates, I'm keeping them flat where they are. Even though from the economic side, from the data side, it's telling him it's okay to now lower interest rates because we've already combated inflation quite well. And now things are getting really heated because, according to a statement from the board, the chairman of the board at Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, his name is William J. Poult, reported that Jerome Powell is considering resigning and that he thinks this will be the right direction for America and the economy will boom. Because if he resigns and is completely out, I'm assuming the new incoming chairman of the Fed is likely going to be pro lowering interest rates, which would be pro-America in the case of Donald Trump and his opinion. Either way, things are getting heated as the White House is now seizing on the Fed renovations as an opening to oust Powell, basically using the fact that he put in about $2.5 billion into renovation of 3 office buildings, including his own, and that is a lot of money. The White House is essentially ramping up a campaign alleging that he lied to Congress about the Fed's headquarters renovation or grossly mismanaged it, potentially creating a new legal avenue to oust him and get him out of there. Whatever the case may be, the markets absolutely loved it. Volume is up. Bitcoin hit a new all-time high of like $118,000 plus. XRP went up to 296 and has officially put in a series of, and this is the very first time that we've seen this now, a major low, our next high, our next low right here, and a higher high for an uptrend in a macro long-term uptrend. And if you zoom out in the way that Peter Brandt did right here, you can see that this little area, this box that we're squatting in, should likely take us up to at least $5. And that would be in the short term, because in the long term, if I were to take a fib tool from the top right over here and hit as many points on the lows between the local high back in 2018 and then the all-time high in 2020, you can see that the lows really come in somewhere around 17 to 16 cents. That said, the 1618 range right up here would be about $20. So even on the low end into a macro bull market, as you can see on the weekly time frame, this is a very bullish position that we're in right here with this one candle. I thoroughly expect us to pump right up to that $5 range, which would be a local psychological resistance. Many people are going to think of $5 and XRP and say that's a good place to take profit. However, I think it's possible that through the end of the year, again, we fly right through there into the 127 and at least the 144 and $11 XRP. Then it remains to be seen if we hit $20. But $20 is not outside of the realm of possibility, considering, yes, the market cap would be insane, but we've seen XRP pump 622% in the past. Actually, off of the lows right here into the last year and in the bottoms of 2022, you can see that XRP did put in a major move for about 1,000% up to those highs right up here. So it's very much possible this next move could take us at least 400 to 600%. But as for whether or not it could actually hit $100, again, I think that would be pretty extreme and unlikely, unless, of course, the team itself decided to burn a lot of the XRP token. But that would actually not be in the best benefit of the company or their shareholders, which leads me to believe that's not actually going to happen. Instead, what we're going to see happen is an extreme amount of demand and FOMO into higher price targets. And ultimately, what that's going to do is drive the price up on low levels of liquidity into ranges that people said, whoa, I did not expect that market cap to occur ever. And so XRP is going to hit some insane targets, if not by the end of this year, likely into the next year. And this last day confirmed it for me. We are officially in new bull market territory. So that's it for the video, folks. If you enjoyed it, be sure to check out altcoinpro.com to learn more about joining, and also be sure to subscribe to the channel. Thanks so much for watching the video, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.